morning, America's finest city. Welcome to Sunday Assembly. We're back. We're here to stay. My name is Jeff Olson. This is Kim DeBose. Kim, do you like rock and roll?
No, Jeff, I like jazz. I like classical. But I love rock and roll.
Right on. Anyone else love rock and roll? Yeah? I love rock and roll. Hey, Ren Radio, take it away. We love rock and roll. Hey, welcome to Sunday Assembly. Thanks for being here. This is, I know, one of the best parts about being a non-church person is you can sleep in on Sunday. And it's huge, it's really huge, so thanks for being here. I'm Jeff Olson. I came to the first one and volunteered and have been roped in part of the crew ever since. That could be your story too. You came here today. We need volunteers. This isn't just happening on its own. This is happening. Because people are actually participating and doing it. There are about 20 people that need to be thanked. If you're on Trello, you know who you are. You've been making this happen, and there's maybe a few people that aren't on Trello that need to be thanked too. But thank you, organizers, for making this happen. Thank you, participants. Thank you, everybody who put a big bill in one of our donation jars. We love those little bills with the Georges on them, but we really like the big ones with the Hamilton and Benjamin and Grant on them. So remember that. This isn't all free.
Donation jars.
We have donation jars all over in the back, and you can also get online. Our website's real slick, and you can sign up for a sustaining membership. You know the routine. This is NPR. This is how you get your tote bag. Sign up for $25 a month. It's less than $1 a day. We could pencil this out. If we got 50 people to sign up to give $25 a month, less than $1 a day, and this whole thing would run itself. We would never have to have another budget or finance committee meeting. We would have enough to, the organizers laugh. We could delay our next finance meeting if we had 50 people that were giving less than $1 per day.
And the donations help pay for the events and all the good stuff we bring to you guys once a month.
Did we find this What is Sunday Assembly video?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So if you got drugged here, this is the first time you're hearing about this. What is Sunday Assembly? Sunday Assembly is a godless community that is an alternative to organized religion. It's all kinds of things. In the media, they're calling it an atheist church. That's maybe not the best way to describe it. It doesn't make everybody feel comfortable. A lot of people have been burned by the church experience. The founders, a pair of British comedians who started this whole show, named Sanderson Jones and Pippa Evans, they can explain it better than we can. So let's watch that.
Hi, I'm Simon.
And I'm Godless.
And together we started the Sunday Assembly.
It's all the best bits of church, but with no religion and awesome pop songs.
It's a celebration of life.
And it's not a cult.
But that's exactly what we say.
To explain this properly, let's begin at the beginning. It was almost 3 years ago we were in our driving to Bath. Would you rather just two comedians going to a gig? Most all just above your bottom. When it turned out we both wanted to do something like church for people who didn't believe in God, but didn't believe in people.
We started in London in January, and now hundreds meet twice a month to hear great talks, sing awesome songs, help in the community, and share tea and cake. But no Kool-Aid.
It accidentally went a little bit viral.
More and more of London's atheists are waking up on a Sunday morning and going to church.
It turns out there are loads of people out there who want to live better, help often, and wonder more. There's already one in Melbourne, New York, Bristol, and Brighton.
By the end of the year, there'll be 30.
That's a 3,000% growth rate, I think.
We've got this far, just us and a boatload of volunteers, but we've had hundreds of requests from people who want a Sunday assembly of their own.
And if we want to reach the 300 million people across the world who have no religion, we're going to have to get digital.
Here comes the science bit.
We are raising money to turn our website into a powerful and easy-to-use digital platform, entirely dedicated to bringing people together in congregations that celebrate life. It will take you from A, wanting a Sunday assembly, to B, meeting other like-minded folk in your area, to C, helping you bring together all the elements you need to start your own, to D, the big day when you launch your assembly. And it will incorporate E, features that let you grow your assembly social.
One congregation could never afford this website, but if we all chip in together, we can make one site that can be used by the whole world and help thousands of local communities and millions of people.
And we want to give this all away for free, which is why we're asking you for money. £500,000 to be precise. I know, it's a lot of money, and you probably think we're going to be doing this. In fact, we're actually going to be doing this.
£500 an hour. I think reasonable.
You see, to do this brilliantly, we're going to have to hire the best designers, developers, and programmers in the world. And they are expensive. If you want to know exactly what we're going to spend it on, please pause now. We need your help to build an organisation that is 100% dedicated to helping people live better, help often, and wonder more.
Throughout recorded history, humans have gathered together to celebrate their values. So imagine what could happen if we married the best parts of religion with modern science.
Imagine if we had the tools to help others and to make ourselves as good as we can be.
Imagine if we combined inspiration, technology and community to bring human potential to dizzying new heights. In this one life, we know we have.
That's the mission of the Sunday Assembly. It's ambitious, but totally doable.
Please support our projects. Let us change the world with love and tech.
Reason and joy.
And tea and cake.
So that's what it's about. That fundraising project is actually over, and we will gladly accept your donations to our particular specific Sunday Assembly project rather than the overall umbrella organization. Who wants to sing another song? All right. Please rise as you are able and join us in singing. What I like about you, the lyrics are located inside your program, and take it away, Rand Radio.
Have you guys seen all the gorgeous kids walking around here today? For all the parents who want to send their kids away or send their kids to the kids area, we have a kids corner in the back. where you can take your kids, they have games and books to read, and if you want to take your kids back there, now's a good time.
Thanks, Amanda, for organizing the kids' functions here.
Okay, up next is our best moment with Ben Gage. Wait, no, up next is our reading from Michael. Okay.
Michael, take it away.
Jules Verne said that reality provides us with facts so romantic that imagination itself could add nothing to them. Think about this. Over the eons, inert matter has blindly assembled itself into things which can suffer and love, which can help each other, which can write haiku and taste wine. The same stuff makes up the sun and the rocks and forests and our minds. Continents have split apart, mountains grew and crumbled. Dinosaurs turned into hummingbirds. A whale even died and settled into the sea bottom sand, only to be uncovered under the San Diego Zoo with its crew. All these things are like waves traveling down through time until enough converge that pieces of the universe awaken. And those pieces, through those pieces, the universe is experiencing itself everywhere, and in this room, here, right now. Now think about this. The world will keep spinning and the sun will keep burning, and eventually, each of us will have a last sunset and a last kiss, and we'll exit this stage one last time. So too, in some unimaginably distant future, will the set pieces themselves disappear. First the sun, then even matter itself. If in 5 billion years, the ground beneath us is intact and above water, if there is anything sitting on it, watching the last of the sun's glow, we'll have about the same luck imagining it today as bacteria billions of years ago had imagining us. If in 10 to the 70th years, there is still somehow some medium floating in space, somehow storing haiku, storing the taste of wine, it too will disappear forever as black holes swallow the last matter and the protons themselves decay. And finally, think about this. The more we learn about this play we're all in, the less it seems to be about us. The more we learn about it, the more it seems that we actors are a tiny afterthought on a stage so huge that we're beneath notice. Yes, that's true, but it's also irrelevant. Because in this precious fleeting moment, when some genes and memories have bound themselves together as you are here. You can suffer and love. You can make others suffer or love. You can write haiku. You can taste wine. That is all that can ever matter. In this moment, you are part of the ongoing story of creation, making new waves to travel down through time, deciding what lines you're going to deliver. It's an enormous responsibility, but it's also a gift we have. It's the superpower of being alive. Let's use it well. There's a video.
I'm looking for it.
In that case, then up next is our future presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Zig-Zag Show by Condra.
How many of you grew up in a house full of stuff? Interesting stuff. I know I did. My sister did. And, you know, my grandparents also had a house full of interesting, very cool stuff, going back several generations in our family. So we would go there for family dinners, and I would always end up sprawled out on the living room rug reading a book of my great-grandmother's poetry. And my mother would always say, oh, don't touch that, put it back. And the reason was because she thought some of his poetry was strange, which really made me want to read it all the more. So I wanted to give you a little background about the presentation that I'll be giving. Now, everything you'll see in this presentation came from things that I found in my grandmother's house. And her mother-in-law is the author, the poetess that we will be hearing about today. And after my grandmother died, we were going through her things, and I found a single sheet of paper that was covered on both sides with juicy purple handwriting. And it turned out to be an autobiographical sketch written by my great-grandmother shortly before she died. And that's where the story begins. Lorena Catherine Bicknell was born September 8, 1867, near Anderson, Indiana. She was the firstborn child of a lover's romance of the Civil War and destined from the day of her birth in a log house in deep woods to be a pioneer. Hey, go. Wait, not moving. There, no, go the wrong way. I probably need to be closer to this. Okay, that's it. We'll try it. Here, let's see how that works. When Katie was 5 years old, the family moved overland to Kansas on a homestead which the government had given to their young soldiers. 3 years of drought, grasshoppers and Indians proved too much for her mother, who had been reared in the city, but furnished ample entertainment for the subject of this sketch, as no Indian with scalp lock swinging from his belt was ever more elated than when she had killed 27 rattlesnakes. Happy cake, one gill of flour of common sense. No, one peck of flour of common sense. One gill of salt, experience. Some pepper, called the spice of life. Too much kicks up all kinds of strife. Put in the yeast of industry and fruit and nuts, economy. Then take your biggest measuring tin and scoop some love and kindness in. I fear the cup's too small. My best advice is to put in love and kindness twice. The bowl called home, then quickly take, and in it mix this happy cake. Clarence's birthday. No doubt it is irrelevant to the case in court today, but memory wanders back again to a prairie far away. A prairie hot and dry and bare, but big and wide and long, where hope sealed in the sunrise and faith was heard in song. Where you, the son we waited for, named long before you came, rested in the little house, the board house on the claim. So whereas the blood of a pioneer pulses your heartstrings through, it turns to legal combat, so manifest in you. May the greatness of the treeless plain, the bravery of the frontier, and the strength of the prairie wind help you on in your career. Now in gladness for that summer day, for that other day, that summer day of shine, and for the love of my whereas boys, all the hereby boys are mine. These days in San Diego, do you remember that show on KPBS? This is where that came from. Oh, these days in San Diego, did you ever see the beat? Makes you think of all the stories about the pearly golden street in that wondrous, beauteous city where the golden yellow shine glints up the people's faces all up and down the line. Oh, these days in San Diego, with the balmy morning air, why you feel so full of bustle, turn your back on carp and care. Tell the blues, go chase yourself, for you haven't any time. Your head so full of business making hay out in the shines. Your work is just a pleasure. And if the frozen face of a croaker ever greets you, your heart so full of grace and pity for the heathen that you take him out to dine and direct his gloomy fancies to the healing air and shine. The mountains in the distance, wrapped in a hazy dream, make a picture that a painter would consider a fit theme to put down on his canvas. The ocean at your feet, the starlight and the moonlight and the sunlight, ain't it sweet? These days in San Diego, my every nerve's a thrill. All creation's my relation, and the rocky, slippery hill of fortune won't seem so very hard to climb, if they'll let me stay and rustle in this golden yellow shine. This is off the record. San Diego has no big log business of any kind. This town is still the jumping off place. The same old cloud is over it. The same narrowness. But they say it will arrive. Maybe so, before hell freezes over. By that time, I too shall have arrived at the celestial mansions. I am one of those of whom it is said, "Oh, ye of little faith." I've always been as far as this town's concerned. But if one could only live on without caring, this would be a wonderful place with the water and the mountains. Soul friends, I am not telling of love between man and woman, but of love between human and human. Of that I am singing today. Of a light in the eye and fine courage high. Of that I am singing, I say. Oh, it isn't possessions of jewels or gold that ensures a friendship against growing old. Such notes fall sadly someday. But a clasp of the hand and a soul that can stand when adversity comes my way. I am telling of love between woman and woman, of faith and hope and trust in the human. Of that gladly I sing it today. Of the friend of my heart who in bearing the part helps all other women, I say. A female Diogenes. I have been looking for a man for a full half century to go 50-50 all the way, the long, long life with me. One who would, in thought and word and deed, grant me willingly the favors he for himself would take, grant them wholeheartedly. A man who would neither adore or disesteem me for my sex, but making half of the human team in life's journey most complex. Be a partner, as man to man, and toiling up heights ascend in a comradeship of spirit, as a soul friend meeting friend. No, I'm not hunting for this man, but just wondering quietly if in all this land there is a man who could take this walk with me. In the news today, a local poetess contributes to Beauty Symposium. Mrs. Lorena Catherine Harden, local poetess, contributes her ideas on poetry for the Sun's interview with local prominent people on the subject. Two of Mrs. Harden's poems, Vindication and The Mother Way, were read at the recent Victory Luncheon at the U.S. Grant Hotel, which was attended by over 350 people and received much applause. Beauty. What is beauty, you ask? I looked down and smiled, and the answer flashed back from the eyes of a child. Beauty of color? In summer and shade, what hues can compare with the blush of a maid? A beautiful song? It is sung by the wife who hums as she weaves with the shuttle of life. Beauty of form? What picture so fair as the face of a mother framed in white hair? Beautiful truth? Its lamp ball of light is borne by our sons in their struggle for right. Beauty of wisdom? In nature's plan, completed and finished in a wise man. So beauty, great beauty, true beauty to me, is expressed in the people, plain people I see. No song ever sung, no flowers that grow are as fine as the hearts of the people I know. Thus on into various mining camps and railroad towns we went, always seeing life and living at its very beginnings. So with you who have been the pioneers, I can say with Kipling, the lives you died I have watched beside, and the lives you led were mine. The deaths you died I have watched beside, and the lives you led were mine. And now my hair is silvered, and with them I sing a new song of the silver years. I sing of the glorious silver years, of a sun outshining the clouds of fears that o'ershadowed my youthful days. I sing the song of a conqueror, of a soul triumphant o'er doubt and care, of a glad good faith in smiles, not tears, and the joy of living in silver years. In the news today, a local poetess passes away, work known over country. Hundreds of friends from all walks of life will mourn the passing of Mrs. Lorena Catherine Harden, local poetess, which occurred this morning at 7:45 o'clock at the Elwyn Sanitarium, National City. Mrs. Harden had been in poor health for nearly a year, and for the last 10 days had been at the sanitarium. She was an active worker in the local chapter of the Red Cross, the San Diego branch of the League of American Pen Women, the Women's Civic Center, and the Parent-Teacher Association. She was one of the organizers of the Daughters of Liberty here and was made a state delegate to the National Conference at Baltimore. It is one of the few truly inspired poetesses of the day that she will be missed by the largest numbers of people. A manuscript of her works is now in the hands of her son, Captain A.C. Harden at Washington, D.C., to be published in book form. Her work has appeared in papers and magazines all over the United States, each carrying a message for the time. A splendid tribute is given Mrs. Harden in the words of one of her fellow workers. She sang the song of the spheres transposed to the key of everyday life. Mrs. Harden is survived by her husband, William Henry Harden, two sons, Attorney Clarence Harden of the city and Captain A.C. Harden, USA, Washington, D.C., and her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Joel Willis Bicknell of Randolph, Nebraska. The deceased was 55 years of age. So, thank you so much for letting me share this story with you. Now, her poetry has now touched the lives of 5 generations in our family. And so I think with my granddaughters will be passed on, I'm sure, to subsequent generations. So now we're going to solve this mystery scene here in San Diego. Does anybody care to guess where this picture was taken? Kim? No. Where? No, it's not Payloma. No, it's not Mission Valley. Give up. Okay. This picture is actually taken south of 94 and just west of Interstate 15 at the same, literally same lot where Archie Moore later built his family home. So that house is still there, and the swimming pool is shaped like a boxing glove. But if you're looking here, you're looking out east, and the hillside here, wrapped in a hazy dream, is actually covered in eucalyptus today. And on top sits the Gateway Center and Costco. So that's where that picture is taken. So next time you're driving down Highway Interstate 15, look to the east, and that's what you won't see, I guess. But thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks, Mike, for that video. That was really cool. And thank you, Claire, so much for the pioneer poetry. I really enjoyed it. Did you guys enjoy that? How about some music? You guys ready for more music? Random Radio has a special piece for us. Take it away, guys.
is a brilliant songwriter, and that was an awesome rendition of her song. Thanks.
Up next for our best moment is Ben Gage.
Thank you very much. Hi guys, it's good to be here with you today. It's the first time I've heard of this organization, but Betsy, your program director, is a family friend of my wife and I. She's our masseuse, and she's just a terrific lady. Where we go, she's just going to do that in He wants us to eat this microphone. And he's going to shut it down if we don't. But she told me about this, and she asked me if I would tell you guys this story. It's just one of my stories. It's a true story about my life, and it really follows what Michael was saying, because I believe we're all here for a reason, and we all have an opportunity to change lives, every one of us, every day in what we do. And the story I'm going to tell you was about a person who changed my life. My brother, I'll just tell you, ended up dying as an alcoholic at 58. My sister, unfortunately, is very overweight and has been in therapy all her life. And it all is as a result of the story I'm about to tell you. So we can actually start with the very first picture. This is my mother and father on their honeymoon in Acapulco. And the woman on the right there is Esther Williams. She's a swimming movie star. She recently passed away at 91. Her movies were featured in That's Entertainment, and basically her movies invented the sport of synchronized swimming. And she was the #1 money-making star at MGM from 1943 until 47. My dad, she had no money. She grew up in Inglewood, California, the 5th child to a sign painter during the Depression. She was born in 1921. And so they were very, very poor. And she ended up learning how to swim by working as a locker room attendant at a public pool, and the rest became history. My dad, 6'6", wavy blonde hair, deep baritone voice, also grew up very poor. His father was a greenskeeper in Illinois, and then he joined the Army Air Corps and came out to Los Angeles. And my mother and father met at a USO show at the Coconut Grove at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles when he was on the stage in front of a big band, and she was a young starlet at MGM just beginning her career. And so they then got married, and you can go to slide 2. So she was a bathing beauty. This is in the era of Betty Grable and all of the movie stars that were the pinup girls in the 40s. My mother began her career in 41, right as the United States went into World War II. And so because she was a national champion swimmer, she had actually won 4 events at the Nationals in swimming, and would have gone to the Olympics. That was in 1939 when she was 18. She would have gone to the Olympics in 40 and or 44, but they weren't held because of the war. And in those days, if you took $1, you were a professional, you could no longer compete as an amateur. And so she lost her right when she began acting in or being in a review that was on Treasure Island. She was in the World's Fair. Billy Rose put together, he was married to Fanny Bryce, the impresario put together a show on Treasure Island. She went up there with Johnny Weissmuller, who was Tarzan. They were both discovered and became movie stars. So the next picture is actually a picture that was called the Esther, and all through the South Pacific, sailors would compete for it. It was laminated and waterproof, and there was a contest that they stole it from each other, from boat to boat, all through the South Pacific. And so they would either steal it or they would win it in an athletic contest, but it was a big 8x10 picture that was laminated that went from boat to boat. So that's how famous she was. And I want to tell you guys, it's like being the son of Angelina Jolie or Britney Spears or something like that. You're just living in the eye of a hurricane, and nobody knows what they're doing. My parents, those 2 kids in the sombreros that were in the first picture, they didn't know what they were doing, and now all of a sudden they've got more money than God. My mom's making $5,000 a week in 1945. And so we lived in a 27-room mansion, 3 stories on 4 acres of land in Pacific Palisades, had new cars every 4 months because my mom liked to smell a new car. My dad bought a gold mine in Mexico, and if you buy a gold mine in Mexico, you buy a twin-engine Cessna to fly to your gold mine in Mexico. And so we had restaurants, we had Yes Women's Swimming Pool Company, we had an aluminum screen door and siding company, an underwater speaker company, land in Hawaii, everything, gas stations. But none of it was working because nobody's managing anything. These are 2 kids in a candy store. So we can go to the next slide. So this is really where we spent all of our time together. That was the only time we saw our parents was in the backyard pool. Because otherwise my dad was off drinking, my mom was at the studio, and we were being raised by nannies. And so that was just our life, and we didn't know any different. But we did learn how to swim. All of us learned how to swim before we could walk. And so that was the thing we did best. So now I was born in 1949, firstborn. And so in 1959, with all this luxury going on, I gotta tell you guys this. When I was 7, Walt Disney came to my birthday party at Disneyland. And they gave me 4 production cells of Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Pluto, on which he signed, "Happy birthday, Benji, love Walt." Okay? They hung on my bedroom wall for 4 years. When I was 8, we had tea with the Queen of England at Buckingham Palace. My mom was doing a show at Wembley Stadium, and so we played with her corgis. While my mom talked to the King and Queen. That was the craziness, the Fellini movie that was going on in our life. Okay. Well, in 1959, I'm 10 years old. My brother's 9, and the shit hits the fan. My dad has not paid taxes on my mom's income for 4 years. The IRS comes and wants $500,000 in 1958. Everything gets sold. My mother runs away with Fernando Lamas, the guy that Billy Crystal made famous in You Look Marvelous. That was Fernando Lamas, my wicked stepfather, who hated us and had an affair with my mom in 1953 when they made the only movie they made together, which is my favorite movie called Dangerous Swimwear, about a Kansas farm family swimming the English Channel to get enough money to buy a prize bull. The stories in Hollywood in those days weren't that great. There was a lot of singing and swimming and dancing and all that. So in 1953, my mom and Fernando made this movie together. They fall in love, they have an affair. He keeps telling her for 6 years, run away with me, run away with me. He did that a lot. He did it with his wife, Arlene Dahl, who we had Lorenzo Lamas with, and with Ava Gardner and Lana Turner, and a lot of starlets in Hollywood that he had affairs with through his life, married or not. So when everything goes away, my mom runs away to Europe with Fernando, takes my sister, who is 6, my brother and I'm 10, he's 9, going to military school in Santa Monica, run by a Marine DI who had a riding crop that he hit us with all the time. And it was a spoiled rich kid military school. The whole point was to break you down. And that was the goal, and they were very good at it. And so they basically broke us down. And at that point, my dad is now divorced from Esther Williams, trying to recover from that. My mom's in Europe with Fernando, trying to figure out what to do about that. Doesn't come back for 3 years, because she made 2 movies over there, gets enough money to come back and pay off the IRS. But when she comes back, we can't go to the house because Fernando hates us. But that's another story. I got to get to the perfect moment, and Michael, and what he's saying and what I'm saying, and that is how you change your life. So Ramsey Military School closed when I was 12, and it closed because it was falling down. What we said was that the cockroaches let go of each other's hands, and so the military school collapsed because it was so decrepit and falling down. It was unhealthy, unsafe. So my brother and I go to live with my 80-year-old grandmother, my father's mother, who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica across the street from the junior high school where we're going to go to school. This is at 12. We've now not seen our father and mother for 2 years, basically. Dad's been drinking on Sunset Boulevard, mom's in Europe. basically, the epiphany I had is that there was nobody in my life that cared about me, nobody in my life was going to take care of me. I'm crying all the time. I've gone from this luxurious money is no object life to a life of complete deprivation in military school. And now we're living with our grandmother who doesn't know what to do with us. So they tell us, I don't even know who, but we're told, go to the YMCA. And you go swim, you do your homework, leave your grandmother alone. You guys are too much of a handful. My brother ended up being 6'8", I'm 6'3". We're 12 and 11 at this point, and there's no way to manage us. We're really feral wolves, in my grandmother's house. And so we go to the YMCA, and the idea is just to swim, tire ourselves out. So we're there, and we don't play sharks and minnows, we play sharks and sharks, because we're just two big kids, and we're angry and frustrated, and swimming is the thing we do best, so we're drowning each other, we're doing everything we can. This man, and we're so confused we don't know where we are, what we're doing. This man comes in, and he stops us, and he says, and he's this profane guy, deep New York accent. He goes, "What are you boys doing?" I'm like, "Well, we're just swimming." He says, "Yeah, what are you?" So he gets it out of us that we're Esther Williams' son. He's the age group coach at that YMCA. His name is Hugh Kessler. The most profane man I've ever known. Swore all the time. Short, pockmarked face, smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. And he's a swim coach. So what he does is, he says, "All right, swim for me." And so my brother and I swim, and of course, it's the most comfortable thing we do. So he goes, "All right, get up on the blocks. Do a start." We've never done it, we fall in the pool. He says, "All right, do some turns." He says, "I want each of you to swim a length of butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, freestyle, each one of the strokes." And so he goes, at the end of that, he goes, "All right." To me, he goes, "You're a breaststroker." He says to my brother, "You're a backstroker." Well, we don't shut the fuck up. Which is what he said to us all the time. So he says, "You're swimming in a meet on Saturday." And I'm like, "Well, no, you shut the fuck up." So now we get there Saturday, we're at the meet, I'm standing there on the swimming 50 breaststroke. I've never swum in a race in my life. I don't even know, I'm so scared. And I'm standing there, he says, "See this guy to your right? This guy thinks he's going to win this race. He's from Redondo, and he's a hot stud, this top 12-year-old swimmer in the whole area." And he said, "You're going to beat him by half body weight." I said, "I'm not coaching." So I go, I swim the race, I beat him by body weight. He pulls me out of the pool, he gives me this big hug, no Jerry Sandusky nonsense, this is pure coach, good coach. Pulls me out, gives me a hug, and he says, "You are a superstar." Now imagine that moment, that one moment of having someone believe in you and coach you and respect you and put you in that place. He then took my brother and me to the swim coach at Lincoln Junior High School, which was the junior high school across from where my grandmother lived. That, we did great, became the stars on the swim team. That coach took my brother and me to the coach at Santa Monica High School, named Dave Milovich. Dave Milovich made me an All-American swimmer and water polo player in high school. He got me a full ride to UC Santa Barbara for swimming and water polo, where I'm in the Hall of Fame for swimming and water polo. I was the leading scorer in the country in 1969-70 in water polo. Played on the U.S. national team. I just played in the U.S. men's national Masters water polo championships and got named All-American again. I went to law school in L.A. with that confidence from being essentially a top elite athlete. Went to law school, got my law degree, successfully ran a law practice here in San Diego, an intellectual property law practice for 25 years. It all happened that day in the pool. And then when that man, just being himself, he wasn't doing anything special, shut the fuck. So he wasn't doing anything different than what he did every day. I went back when I was in law school, and I sat down, he was in his late 70s at that point, and dying from lung cancer. I went back and met with Coach Kessler, and I told him this whole story. I told him how that moment that he spent and paid attention to my brother and me in the pool that day had changed my life and taken me from a confused, frustrated, angry kid and turned me into a hardworking, aggressive, successful adult. So we can go to the next picture. Oh, that's another one. That was when we learned to water ski in Cypress Gardens, of course. Because my mom did a movie there called Easy to Love. So the last picture. There we go. So this is today. This is my wife of 30 years, my 26-year-old son, and my 25-year-old daughter. Left LA after getting my law degree. Came down here, met her on a train. And so we've been together now for 34 years, married 30, and we have 2 beautiful kids. And the bottom line is I had to get out of LA, I had to get away from all of that fleeing movie nonsense in Hollywood and that lifestyle and come down and build a life. But it all started that day in the pool when I was 12 years old because my life went from this path to this path. So my challenge to each one of you is to live your life in a way where you change your life, where you are that inspiration, that motivation, that coach, that life-changing event in someone else's life, because it happens every day. So thank you very much.
There's really not much to say about that. So on that note, will those assembled please join me for a moment of silent reflection? So, everything so far? Yeah. Try to wrap this up real quick. We don't really want to go to 1:30 like the program says. Oops, typos happen. So there's a portion of the program where they've asked for the MCs to kind of wrap it up and tie it all together. And to that effect, through no particular authority and with no particular passed down authority to grant permission. I'd like to grant permission to every single person here. I'd like to give you permission to be yourself. Be who you are. Be the true person that you were meant to be. You may not have ever heard this before, but here today, I'm giving you permission to be who you are. Go ahead. No one else can do this for you. It's the only person you can be. So hear me when I tell you, you have permission to be yourself. Anything you want to add to that? You have the green light to chase your wildest dreams. Feel free. No one else is going to chase them for you. Only you can dream them up and do them. So go ahead. Take the green light and chase your wildest dreams. You have permission to come out as a non-believer. If you are an atheist or skeptic or non-believer, that can be as oppressive a secret to keep as any other. So hear me when I say you have permission to come out as whoever you are, whether that person is a skeptic or a non-believer, or if you subscribe to a particular philosophy, do it. Go ahead and be the black sheep of your family. Someone has to be.
It's okay to take risks, come out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, have a free pass and come out of your comfort zone. You know, when our founder Sanderson says, check your cool at the door, go ahead and go ahead and take that free pass to act a fool and dance with wild abandon and sing out loud and go ahead. It's okay. Go ahead and scan through, go ahead and use your family's history to inspire your art, like Claire did. Go ahead and be the pioneer woman who treks across the country and settles in a new frontier. Go ahead and take permission. You don't need, you don't need to hear it from me or from anyone or from some priesthood. You had permission all along. Just know that you have permission. We do have a few announcements. There are folks who have put up their own money to create the merchandise that you see in the back, the t-shirts and the mugs. Feel free to spend your hard-earned Federal Reserve notes on those things. There is a woman named Marin who's here today who has done an extraordinary job preparing us for not just talking the talk, but for walking the walk. She's prepared philanthropy enterprises that Sunday Assembly is starting. Just last night they did a blanket craft drive, and there'll be many more projects like this to come. She's the woman standing in the back with the baby. If you're interested in helping us walk the walk, talk to Mary about opportunities to volunteer with us.
Any bodies?
Bodies, yeah, we need seats and chairs for sure. There's a woman here named Sandra who's wearing the dazzling black and white dress in the back. She is starting a program that we're calling SMOOPs. These are small groups of particular interest that will be forming soon and doing community projects and fun stuff too. She's standing in the back or sitting in the back, and if you'd like to become involved with the SMOOPs, please find her afterward. What else have we got? We got one more song. And then afterward, our dear friend Chloe, who is coordinating volunteers, is going to lead us in kind of an icebreaker type event. But in the meantime...
Well, before we get into that, how did you guys hear about us? Where did you guys hear about us from? Anybody hear about us on Facebook? Anybody on Facebook? How about the San Diego Reader, San Diego Union? Anybody email our email blast?
Anybody get drugged here against their will? Yeah, Laura. Sorry about that.
Word it out? Great.
Yeah, nice. This is our informal marketing survey.
Meet up.
Thanks, guys. All right, time for some music.
Man, please. Let's some journey here.
Right, so we are Random Radio. Thank you guys so much for having us out. Feel free to like us on Facebook and come and have fun with us anytime you want.
She took a
are awesome. Shout out to people in the back who raised their hands. I like that. Thank you. Yes, wonderful. All right. Well, we're going to do a little bit of an icebreaker kind of game to get to know people. So if you're afraid of people, run away now. We're going to be meeting our neighbors and asking some questions and doing that kind of stuff. So hope you guys can get into it. Just a quick note, we're a little community, we're still getting used to everything, so thank you for bearing with us, and we've had technical difficulties, and who's speaking where is the band, I don't know. So just thank you so much for sticking with us, we really appreciate it, and we're always looking for volunteers. I'm a coordinator for volunteers, so if you want to come volunteer, come see me, I'd love to get to know you and stuff. Your life story, time of year. Or not, apple juice for the kids. So we're going to do questions. So what I want you guys to do is you're going to stand up and, there we go. All right, listen to directions. Simon said, okay, so first question, actually you're going to ask 3 questions. So the first question you're going to ask, I want you to meet somebody and you're going to ask them, what is the most strange food that you just absolutely love? So find somebody in the audience, ask them that question, and then once you're all done, we're going to ask you another one to somebody completely new. So go for it. Strangest food that you absolutely love. Would you have if you could have any animal as a pet? Living or